Hello, and welcome into another episode of Fractured Not Broken, the Relationship Wellness Podcast. It is your guy, Coach Reg, founder of Are You Coached? I am a professional relationship coach, relationship expert, author, presenter, and host of this fantastic podcast that many of you have been rocking with me on. So I'm grateful for that, and it's good to have you back for what is going to be the season finale episode, and I'm excited to deliver that and excited to come back at some future point, but definitely excited to share with you. Kind of want to recap some of the things, not a huge recap, but kind of talk through them a little bit. Some of the things that we've talked about, as you know, I've said in previous episodes, we're not going to get into what emotional intelligence is. You can get all of that in the first ones, but we've had some really cool guests along the way. We've had therapists, we've had other coaches, we've had regular people, right, who are working through and seeking to navigate the challenges that relationships come with or that relationships bring. And it's just been a really cool season, a really cool journey thus far. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you who have subscribed to the channel, who like to watch, those who like to listen, on our Substack, the newsletters, all of those of you who are newsletter subscribers, thank you for that. Thank you for the support. Those of you who have subscribed to the YouTube channel, thank you for the support. Those of you who have chosen to share and subscribe or share with your friends and, hey, recommend shorts, reels, what have yous, thank you. It's appreciated. On behalf of me and my team who supports me in this journey, we are grateful and thankful for you being a part of F&B. And so, yeah, season finale episode. And I thought about this. I was like, gosh, what would be helpful, impactful to close out the season? And you may recall we did, and if you don't recall, it's okay, previous episode, we did it, oh, you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this a little different. Let me step back a second. So, the work we do is romantic, non-romantic, and professional relationship work. We do leadership coaching. We do executive coaching. We do workplace relationship coaching. And so, we are going to. That's really the pivot. That's where we're moving more into, and that's why. And as this season winds down or has wound down, that is where we are focusing our efforts and attention to include continuing work on the second book, which you guys mentioned before as well. So looking forward to getting that done and out. And so again, that's going to be a resource guide for professionals in the workplace. So we're very excited to continue working on that and have it eventually delivered to the world. And you guys can grab it. And of course, I'll make you aware of when and where you can get it. So, types of relationships, right? There was an episode we did a few episodes ago. It's called We Are Not Friends, right? And it was about workplace relationships and the importance of having boundaries in the workplace. And of course, we've dealt with numerous topics on romantic and non-romantic relationships. And so what I decided to do, what I've been thinking about is, what would be helpful? Again, what could be impactful? And so what I like to do is use a couple of examples that a professional example as well as I won't even call it a romantic, I guess it would be in that bucket if you're talking about dating. So I'll use two examples to illustrate the thing that I want to get to, which is the EQ, emotional intelligence component of self-management, right? Because it's something that we all struggle with. It is something that we can be aware of ourselves to a degree, but we may not know how to manage what we're aware of, right? Because when things happen, the first inclination or impulse is to react or respond, right? And that is, I won't say in direct contradiction or I should say direct conflict with self-management, but it can be depending on how we react or respond, right? And so when we think about it, we have a choice. And in the moment, it requires discipline to A, remember that you have a choice, and then two, to not respond as you may be inclined, because you may not always feel. We did an episode not long ago, being smarter than the moment. Things happen. When things affect us and impact us, yes, it hurts, yes, it stings, but it doesn't last forever. And we're likely not going to always feel the way we do, or feel always the way we do in that moment. So that's kind of where I want to go with this. Just kind of chat with you about a few things. And of course, if you have questions, right, be sure to, reach out via Linktree. That'll be in the description. As you know from previous videos, you can see how to connect with us, how to contact us, how to secure us for events, discuss, potentially working together. All that's going to be there. But you may have questions about this one, and because it's a human thing. And so be it professional or personal or romantic, non-romantic, self-management matters. Why? Because humans are the common denominator in both spaces, be you in work or be you in a romantic or non-romantic setting. And that's why self-management, I believe, is something we should strive to work on and work through. And so again, we're going to use two examples, but and also I'm going to leave you with some, I won't even call them tips, but there will be like steps that I like you to think about in terms of how to be better, right? Because I didn't say this in the beginning, but I hope you do. The goal of the podcast has always been to transform how we show up and present in relationships that matter most. And so as we look at emotional intelligence, EQ, it is important to remember self-management can serve us well. But what serves us better, is how we think about the thing that happens, right? So let's lead with a professional experience. Say you have a supervisor, manager, who the relationship is, or better yet, you are not happy with the work environment, the workspace, the coworkers, not because they're bad people. It's simply because they don't necessarily approach work professionally. Their personal biases, their personal opinions seem to filter in and seep into the environment, which really taints the culture. And if you have a supervisor who allows it to persist, doesn't address it, in fact, even participates, that can be challenging. And it could be also offensive depending on who you are and how it affects you. And so you say, well, what do I do in that? Well, the first thing is to remember that you have choices, right? You have a choice in how we respond. We allow what we see to inform how we respond, react, or comment, right? So take this one for an example. Say there's something that happens, when we're driving, right? So you have this workspace, this experience at work. And so liken it to when we think of self-management, right? So I gave you the scenario, a part one of it anyway. So liken it to when you're driving, right? And we're talking about self-management. So when you're driving and you get to a traffic light that's red, when you get to a yield sign that's red, it's red. When you see red, right, because you're so angry, what does that indicate? Stop. Not go. Not go. Stop. And so that's what I'm asking you to consider with self-management. Resist the temptation, inclination to lean into what you would ordinarily do or what you may want to do, because in that moment, that's what you feel is warranted. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying I understand, but I also am asking you to consider stopping what is required in the moment. Because the thing, folks, is the thing. And how we think about the thing is what matters. So let's go back to the workplace. You have a supervisor who's complicit with this behavior in this environment. You don't like it. In fact, you're in direct conflict with your supervisor or manager in this space. And you're like, what do I do? I'm glad you asked because I have some thoughts. Number one is to ask yourself, to stop and ask yourself, what did I just see? What did I just experience? Number two, how do I feel about what I just saw or what I just experienced? You're checking in with yourself. Number three, ask yourself, am I measured? You say, well, Coach Reg, what is measured? Measured means you're neutral. You're not responding. If you were to offer a response, you wouldn't do so from an emotional space. Being too excitable, being too anxious, being too upset, being too pissed off, pick a thing. Is that where you want to respond from? If you're any of those things, you're not measured. Take a deep breath. If you see something or experience something that causes you to see red, take a deep breath, count to 10 slowly. The goal is to try to come down, to center, to measure. And you may have to do it a couple of times. And if you find yourself, it's just too much to do, then remove yourself, because that's your choice as well. Then, after you have asked yourself, what did I see? How do I feel about what I saw or experienced? Where am I in that experience? Now we get to the emotional intelligence part of it, which is, how do I choose to respond? How do I want to respond? Is the way that I may want to respond helpful? Is it constructive? Is it productive? Is responding in the moment going to cost me something that I can't recover from an action or words? If you care about the relationship, if you care about the person involved, the other people involved, then you have to ask yourself those questions, or I would hope that you would. And more importantly, I want you to remember that you have a choice to respond, to not respond, to remove yourself, because we're talking about protecting your peace. That's the whole point of this, folks. Self-management, being aware of what you see, understanding how you think about what you see or what you experience, informs how peaceful, if it supports your peace or not. If this thing is off-putting, if it's upsetting, if it's those things, the thing you have to remember is, what do I do in this moment? What are my choices? What can I do? Because I'm the only one who can protect my peace. I can't expect someone who's offended me first of all, they likely haven't considered me because they're doing what they do. Again, it's not what others do. It's not what others think about what you do, because I understand the discomfort that can come with that, because you're concerned with how is it going to seem? What are they going to think? And could this affect me? And all the questions that pop in. Here's another question I'd ask you to ask yourself when those things happen. How does any of those questions serve you? How would any of those answers? Because they are all extraneous or external. This is an inside job, folks. Self-management. Self is the indicator. That's the giveaway, right? Self. So when we're talking about self-management, we're thinking about, how do I protect my peace, my personal peace? What's required? What do I need to do in this moment, in this experience, with the thing I saw or experienced? What actions can I take? What words, what questions, what things can I do to ensure that my peace is protected? My personal peace. Self-management. See, because if you remember, if you haven't, go back and watch We're Not Friends. That was about boundaries. And we can't expect, in that episode we talked about, we can't expect others to honor what we're not willing to honor ourselves. So self-boundaries is a way to, self-management and self-awareness is a way to ensure that we are the best possible versions of ourselves we can be. Now, folks, let me just tell you something. I know this isn't easy, and I hope that you don't hear this discussion as if, oh, this is a piece of cake. No, it is not. Do you know why? Because we're humans. We are flawed, fallible, and emotional. Every one of us. Gender has nothing to do with gender. It's called humans. You notice I say humans a lot. because it has nothing to do with gender. You're a person first. Your gender becomes a detail because that's how you got here, right? Or what you chose to. This is not about gender. It's about being a human. And if you're a human being, you have emotions, and things will affect you. They will impact you. They will upset you. They will make you happy. They will make you sad. They are also conditional. And so what I'm asking you to think about and remember is that whatever you feel, ask yourself, is this long lasting? Is it ephemeral? Is it here forever? Or is it fleeting? Self-management, folks, comes with us thinking and remembering to ask ourselves questions that support our peace. So, hope that made some sense. So let's go to the second example of when you're using a romantic set. Say someone's dating, right? And I know these streets are crazy. I promise you, I hear it all the time. People tell me, man, they're folks who talk about I just hang out with the devil I know rather than get out there and not deal with the devil I don't. I'm like, yeah, no. So I get it. It's like the lesser of a couple of evils, right? You know, which one do you want? Pick your poison. But we're not going to go that route. What I want to share with you about self-management in this regard is, say you are a person who desires companionship. And again, this is about humans, folks. We're not talking about a gender. So humans, if you're a person who desires companionship and you also recognize that there's nothing good in these streets, as I hear, and quite frankly, I know, it's hard to find good in the streets, right? But it's there. And it's not that you're finding the good in the streets. It's just that you have to put yourself in a position to succeed, right? Or to have an opportunity to meet someone, especially if you desire companionship. So say you're a person who desires companionship, but you also have an opinion, and even I would even say as much as a bias about dating and the pool and any other words that you may use to describe your displeasure with having to date and the possibility of meeting someone and all of the frogs you have to kiss to find the prince or princess, right? Well, here's the thing. I talk to you all the time about this, but it really is how we think about things, right? It goes to self-awareness. If I can say I want companionship, right? Not so much marriage or that. It may not be your goal, but you may actually want to share your life with someone in a companion capacity, right? But you're not necessarily, but the idea of doing what it takes to find that person it feels like a bridge too far. And it is, if you're thinking about it, like, I'd just rather be by myself than deal with that. Because which is true? Do you want companionship or do you want to be by yourself? If you want companionship, that's called doing some things that you would rather not do to maybe have that outcome. Or you can choose to just say, hey, I would rather that. That would be nice, but I don't want to do what it takes. And that's your choice as well. May I offer this to you? How we think about things. I know, shocker, right? There we go with that again. I read this book one time. I think it's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, right? And in that book, it discussed two paradigms, the no-win model and the no-lose model. And they're just paradigms, right? Two different paradigms. And the no-win model says, hey, I can't win anyway because the world is against me. People are terrible. I don't want these dating streets. I don't want what comes with it. I don't want situationships, and I don't want, I'm not looking for nothing, or whatever the person may be, which you anticipate someone saying. And so you say all these thoughts that are completely in complete contradiction to what you ultimately want is desires companionship, but yet these thoughts invade your mind. They are pervasive. They persist. They are saboteurs. Okay. And so you say, man, it's just not worth it because I don't necessarily know if I want to do what it takes because of all the stuff that I think about. So you say, why bother? I can't win, so why bother? Okay, you could do that, and that's a paradigm. Then you could also adopt or choose the second paradigm, which is I have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Because I desire companionship. And I know I can't get there staying in my house. I know that I can't get there being settled in my ways. I know that I can't get there with my existing routines. So there may be some things I have to change. You may or may not want to do that. The no lose model says I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get to that outcome because that's more important to me than that's what I want, at least want to make the effort. I may miss the mark, but I will never hit the mark if I don't make an effort. So it's how we think about it. Here's the other thing, folks. Patience. Yeah, patience. Understand, what have you heard me tell you? Listen, humans want to be better. We do. Communication is a big one. People want to be better communicators. People want to be better people in relationships. They want to be better versions of themselves. That's wonderful. Here's what prevents that from happening. Our habits, that don't serve us, that don't support us, but yet we continue to live in that space. And so it's now a discipline. It's called a pause. What do we talk about? The red light and the yield. And when you see red, that's an indication to stop. I mean, you could run a light, you could run a yield sign. It may not go well. You could do it. See? But self-management says, hey, I see this. That indicates I should do what? Pause. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Pause to become a better manager of yourself. New habits, they take time. They take patience. Here's the thing I'll share with you. The place you find yourself, if you're in a professional setting where the environment is not conducive for you, you have a conflict or challenge with your manager or your coworkers or your peers, or you're someone who's considering companionship or dating or whatever that may be. The thing that's important to remember, the concept is easy to understand. The thing to remember, folks, is it's a new habit. Our bad habits don't serve us. So in order for any of us to get to a new place, we have to do something different. And that difference is a new habit. If you choose the no lose model and you say, hey, I got nothing to lose, let me step out here and pursue whatever. If it's a professional change or personal change, it becomes a new habit because it means you're going to have to do something different. And you've heard me say this before, 21 days consecutively before a new habit shows up. Yeah, that's how it works. You know why? Because the subconscious is sharp, pretty sharp. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I got to make sure you're serious about this. So we got 21 days to get there. Consistency. Listen, the delta between where you start and where you will end up is called grace. That's the bridge between where you are and to where you want to be. That the bridge is called grace, which I'm encouraging you to extend yourself. If you're a person who chooses to develop new habits, be it exercise, be it dating, be it work, pick a thing. Remember to be patient with yourself. Remember that your habits have brought you to a place where you don't want to be. And in order to remove yourself from the place that you don't want to be, it's going to require doing something different. That something different is called a new habit. It's going to take time. Be patient with yourself. Extend yourself grace. You're developing a new discipline that you haven't had before, that you haven't exercised before. It's like going to the gym. It's a muscle you haven't worked in a long time. Don't throw your hands up like, oh, this is for the birds. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes when you start anything new. Because it's new. You know the other thing too? Yeah, I just thought of this. You know something else? Who likes change? If you are a human who was like, oh, I love change, bring it on. I'm going to ask you to stop lying. I'm going to need you to do that, okay? Because I don't know a human who's okay with change. It's a constant in life. It's one of the constants in life. Change is inevitable. What we're talking about is adaptability. You can stay where you are, or you can adapt. How do you adapt? New habits. Why would you do that? Because we're talking about self-management. What does self-management buy you? It protects your peace. professionally and personally. You see how we brought that back around? Yeah, it's a whole thing because it's how we think about it, folks. It's how we think about it. So, listen, as I shared, this is our season finale. We have some other efforts we're working on right now. Super excited about those. You guys know how to reach. I hope you do. Use a link tree. Schedule discovery call to, if you want to talk about coaching, professionally or personally, romantic or non-romantic. Use that. If there's an event that you would like us to come to speak at your event, you can use the booking request form for it. You can also get out and get love relationships from there. You can get to the podcast from there. You can contact us there, right? And definitely stay engaged, folks. I have thoroughly enjoyed this season. I really have. Like I said, from the guests to the topics, I just hope it makes some sense. More importantly, I hope it helps. I hope it serves and supports you in your lives, and relationships. And also that it helps us to transform how we show up and present in relationships that matter most. Hey, listen, it is your guy, Coach Reg, and I look forward to seeing you soon. You take good care. Bye.